Hello and welcome to the Author Webinar Series, brought to you by the Nonfiction Authors Association and Writers Conference. Since 2010, we have helped thousands of writers learn to write, publish, and promote books that make a difference in the world. If you are seeking guidance for your own author journey and want to reach your goals faster, you can learn about membership benefits, courses, and additional resources by visiting nonfictionauthorsassociation.com. We look forward to connecting with you and hope you enjoy this webinar.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to our webinar today. We're talking about email marketing, specifically for nonfiction authors. If you write other genres, that doesn't mean this isn't for you too, but we're a nonfiction community. We focus on nonfiction authors. So I'm thrilled to have you join us, and I hope you find this session valuable. I'm Stephanie Chandler. I'm CEO of the Nonfiction Authors Association and Writers Conference, and I love talking about book marketing, and this is right in there with that. This is a brand new presentation. I've never delivered it before, so I'm excited to bring you some fresh content that hasn't been recycled from other places. So first of all, benefits for you for using email marketing. Permission to market. When somebody signs up for your email list, they're giving you permission to market to them. I take that very seriously, as you should as well, because you now have a captive audience, and we want to make sure that we are making that mutually beneficial to people. And it's a wonderful way to build relationships with your readers, your potential readers, because they get to know you through the content that you're sharing. And email can feel almost like a personal relationship, right? You're getting to know the person who's sending you this content. For those of you who are interested in maybe establishing thought leadership in your field, email marketing is one of the many tools for doing that and demonstrating your expertise. And then, of course, we want to inspire purchases and reviews of our books. Very important. But the thing I love most is that captive audience. You know, if you gave me the choice between social media accounts and an email account, email marketing account, I will take email all day, every day, because social media is a much more passive situation. You may or may not see the posts that get shared by people that you follow. In fact, you more likely won't see them. And we tend to be in scroll mode, right? I like Facebook. I like to see my friends and family on there, and I scroll, right? So I'm not really absorbing. Whereas on email, if I've subscribed to an email newsletter, I am paying attention. I am reading through it. But here's the biggest value. It is an asset. So social media is rented real estate. It is not yours. You do not own the content. You do not own your followers. You do not own the database of followers. You don't own anything. And in fact, a few years ago, Twitter shut down our account, our social media account, for no reason. We were sharing tips for authors. We lost 70,000 followers overnight for no reason. And there was no recourse, nothing we could do. But with your email list, you may be renting the tool that you use to send and collect email addresses, but you own the database. That is an asset that no one can take from you. So that is a really important thing to note as far as your author business. And you also want to think about the benefit to your subscribers. Why does somebody subscribe to an email list, right? It's likely for one of three reasons: to learn something new, to be entertained, or to get inspired. Now, it could also be to discover upcoming events. It could be to get discounts. Maybe you subscribe to some sort of discount or promotional newsletter, or any retailer that you belong to, you're getting discounts, things like that. But for your audience, they're looking for access to tools, to things that improve their lives in some way. So step one with email marketing, as with all of your marketing, it is all about your audience. Who makes up your audience, and why do they care to subscribe to your email list? And most importantly, what are their needs, challenges, and interests? If you can address these things in your emails, you will build a loyal audience. But if your emails are going out and they're not addressing those specific needs for your audience, then you're going to lose them. They're going to unsubscribe. They're going to be confused. So it's all about educating and entertaining them by addressing what are the struggles that your audience has. For my own example, Nonfiction Authors Association, we share a lot of how to type content, how to write, publish, and promote books. So there's articles and podcast episodes and webinars like this and events and courses. It's all around the challenges of our audience community. So really think about who is your target audience and what are they struggling with that you can help with in some way. And then it's all about serving them. And you're going to hear me say this a number of times. Your email marketing isn't about your book and it's not about you. It is about serving your audience to build engagement and loyalty so that they in turn want to buy your book and maybe whatever companion products, services, courses, whatever it is that you may also be offering. If you are serving the needs of your audience, that is the winning strategy to making your email list as grow. So I wanted to share this real world example with you. Liz Salami-Abess is a speaker and thought leader really on codependency and having an addict in your life, which many of us can relate to, some in your family somewhere, or maybe a friend or someone you went to school with. So she helps people find freedom from all those codependent habits that people take on. And I love her newsletter. It's very simple and it opens with a question. So she takes questions from her audience and answers them in her newsletter. Now she's got a Dear Liz from Riley, right? So it's a question. My brother struggled with drugs. I thought he was sober now, but I watched him suddenly change during a meal. When he drove us home after dinner, he was all over the road. What should I do? So she's answering that question. And the responses below that, Dear Riley, I hear that you want to help your brother, but safety takes priority over all other things. And then there's a button to read more. Now, why would she do that? Because it takes the reader back to her website. So if the reader is interested in the answer to that question, they're going to click to read more. And she's driving people back to her website where they're going to learn more about her workshops and programs and speaking. She has a book coming. She just got a book deal, which is pretty amazing for a first-time author. And it's because she's got a really clearly defined audience and she's addressing their interests, needs, and challenges in a very simple and powerful way. I love her website homepage. Do you love an addict? What a powerful question. So it immediately speaks to her target audience. Okay, so this gets back to your question for yourself. Who is your audience and how will you serve them? How will you make their lives better in some way? So we start here with what I call our foundational content. And I really believe every author, every thought leader should have at least one piece of foundational content. And by that, I mean blog posts, podcasts, or videos. So blog, podcasts, or videos. And the point of this is that you're sharing your knowledge in some format. And it might be a combination of these three, which is even better. But if you have one, you're doing well. And we want to be driving people to our websites and sharing this through our email content. By the way, I will be taking questions at the end of this session. So if you have questions, pop them into the Q&A, not the chat. It will get buried in chat. So put them in Q&A and I will take them at the end. So you start with your foundational content, and that is part of what you're going to start sharing in your email. Also in your email, a welcome from you. This is your chance for your audience to start getting to know you. This is, I always want to say, you want to be careful about not confusing your audience. You want to stay focused on the content, but it's fine to share the occasional personal detail. It helps them feel connected to you as the person sharing this content. Other types of content you might share in your emails could be news related to whatever industry you're in, You might interview people, and that could be a written interview. It could be a podcast. It could be a video interview, any of those things. That can be great content if the interviews are of interest to your audience. You might round up some articles that you like from other websites. Yes, I'm talking about promoting other websites. Why would you do that? Because you're providing value. So maybe these aren't necessarily driving people to your site, but they're going to remember that you gave them value. So if there are great articles that you find in other places, feel free to share them with your audience. And then quick tips. We're in a short attention span world today because thanks to social media and all the scrolling we do on our phones. So you want to keep things that are punchy, quick, big headlines that moves the reader along quickly. Other types of content you might incorporate depending on what your topics are and what your audience is. Maybe you have a nutrition book and you share recipes. Maybe you've come up with some fun word games that tie into your subject matter. Certainly, any kind of free downloads are always great. Recommended books, book reviews, recommended reading lists. You could be recommending books by others in your genre. Fun facts, fun tips, those upcoming events, things that you have going on, things that would be of interest to your audience. And then, of course, your book. But remember, it's not all about your book, but your book is definitely a focus of it. So you might share excerpts, you might have a reading guide, you might have memes that you create that have fun images of quotes from the book. You might have a bulk order option. You might share the latest reviews you've received for the book or an award you've won. So certainly that should be part of the emails that you're sending out. But the focus of the emails, and I say email newsletter, it doesn't have to be a formal newsletter, but the focus of the emails should be valuable content to your target audience. And then I want to ask you a question. What emails do you subscribe to and why? And if you really pay attention to your own motivation for the emails that you subscribe to, I bet you're going to see a trend there. You're getting some value out of them. Are you subscribed to something that gives you a health tip every week? Are you subscribed to something that helps you grow your business? Are you subscribed to our newsletter? What do you subscribe to and why do you like it? Because we want to take inspiration from what other people are doing. We're not stealing other people's content. We're just getting ideas. What works? What's the format that you're drawn to? And also, what do you not like? Because I don't know about you, I don't want to get a daily email from anybody, really. So you want to pay close attention to what you're subscribing to. And I'm going to say it again because I really want you to remember this takeaway today. How do you serve your audience? What do they care about? What questions are they asking you? Liz's example is very literal, right? She's taking a question and answering it. I take our questions. We're gonna do Q&A today. And if I can't answer a question with a piece of content, it goes on a list and becomes a piece of content. Because if you have the question, I know others in the writing community do too. And over the years, I've amassed a huge amount of content because I'll write an article about it or a report or it goes into a presentation or it becomes a foundation of a book. So think about the questions your audience is asking you. That's a great starting point for your content. Frequency for email. I get this question a lot and it depends. It depends on your audience. It depends on you. How often do you want to send out content? We send a newsletter once a month, and then in between, we send some event notifications and things like that. Liz Best, who I showed you earlier with the codependency, she was doing it weekly, and she was getting great feedback from her audience saying, I love this, but it's a lot to absorb. I would prefer to get it every other week. So now she's doing it that way, and that seems to be the sweet spot. So pay attention to what your audience is asking for too. And that's also more manageable for her. She's providing value, she's staying engaged in her audience, and it's a nice short format email that doesn't take her days to assemble. And by the way, your email shouldn't take you days to assemble. It should be short and to the point. But daily is a really tricky one unless you have something incredibly useful and valuable that people want to receive on a daily basis. And that's rare, quite frankly. But with that, I'm going to give you this example. dailyom.com has been around for, I think they're celebrating their 20-year anniversary. And you can sign up for daily inspiration in your inbox for free. It's one little quick, thoughtful inspiration. It's really a lovely email. And they have 1.7 million subscribers. So this is one of those rare examples where a daily email is working, and it's very simple. It's usually like 1 to 3 paragraphs max. But then, by the way, they also use that to promote their upcoming events and courses and things like that. So getting 1.7 million people to get an email from you, whether it's daily, weekly, or monthly, is pretty phenomenal. You would sell a lot of books if you had an email list like that. Jenny Levin Fink runs goodforyouglutenfree.com. Really clear target audience. These are people who tend to have gluten allergies or sensitivities. And so she sends out all kinds of gluten content. She has meal plans, she has downloads, she has food lists, just all kinds of things. And I think it says on there, she's got 24,000 subscribers for gluten-free content. So especially when you niche down like this, you can actually catch more people. If she had a general nutrition site, that might not land as well with her target audience as the gluten site. And of course, her book is all about her journey to live gluten-free, and it is selling really, really well because of this. Another example, I mentioned, look to the emails that you subscribe to and ask yourself why. I love James Clear. His book, Atomic Habits, is phenomenal. And his email is even better. So he sends 321 Thursdays, and he has millions of subscribers at this point. Of course, that drove his book to the New York Times bestseller list, but the book's also really good, so that helps. So each week there's a theme, and it starts with 3 ideas from him. And they're usually really simple. You don't need to worry about progressing slowly. You need to worry about climbing the wrong mountain. I thought his stuff is genius. And then he's got 2 more quick insights from him. And then 2 is 2 quotes from others, and he'll find really interesting quotes that you haven't seen anywhere else. I don't know how he does it. And then 321, one question for you. So here's your provocative question of the day. Is the situation actually complicated, or is it really quite straightforward, but you're making it complicated because it requires a lot of courage to make the straightforward decision? Isn't that thought-provoking? It's really good. And his content, while not a niche focus, it's really about improving your life in some way, and it's resonating with people because it's so clean and simple. So great real world example if you want to check him out, jamesclear.com. Important guidelines you need to know for email marketing. When it comes to commercial email, and that means you're sending email out for promotional purposes, there are rules that we have to follow. There's something called the CAN-SPAM Compliance Act. This is led by, for those of us in the US, this is led by our federal government, by the Federal Trade Commission, and they have several requirements. 2 of the most important that you must have on your commercial emails: a physical mailing address somewhere in there, usually it's in the footer, and a link or a way to unsubscribe. So if you're sending emails and there is no link to choose to unsubscribe or instructions to unsubscribe, you're violating the CAN-SPAM Compliance Act, and that can come with some big penalties. So these are 2 really important things to note. And then the third one is that people must opt into your list. Now, this has always been the case in the US. We've always had a requirement that you can't just add people to your email list. They need to agree to join. Europe took that up a notch in the last year or so, and you can never just add somebody. They have to opt in and click something that gives permission to add you to their email list. So this is just important information to know, because even you don't know about it, you might be breaking rules that could get you into some trouble or could cause you some hefty fines. So why wouldn't you send from your personal email, right? Especially if you're just getting started and maybe you have 10 or 20 subscribers, you could just go into your Gmail account and send it. But first of all, you won't be able to comply with this spam act. You need to provide them a way to unsubscribe, make sure you have a physical address on there. And also, when you send mass emails from a personal email account, whether it's Gmail or AOL or your domain name, a mass email, more than 10 people, is going to signal to the mail server that's sending it out. This could be spam. It's also going to signal to the recipient's email. This could be spam because it's going to lots of people at once. So it can potentially hurt your email deliverability, and you never want to do that. So if you're going to send email to more than 10 people, you really want to get a commercial email solution. I'm going to talk about those options here in a moment. Also, when you're sending from your personal email, there's no automation. There's no way to automatically send incentive, lead magnet, a free report, chapters, things like that. And there's no easy way for people to subscribe on your website. So you do not want to use your personal email for this, even if you're just getting started. So your tools, potential popular email tools right now, I would say MailChimp, Constant Contact, and Aweber are the ones I hear of most frequently. Whatever platform your website is on may offer a tool as well. I think if your site's on Wix, you may have an option built into that. Maybe in your e-commerce system, you have it built into that. However you get your tool is great, as long as it's a professional email tool. MailChimp has a free trial for up to, I think it's several hundred subscribers. So it's a good starter for a lot of people. My personal preference is Constant Contact because it has better visual components. MailChimp is very text centric. There's not a lot of visual components you can add to that. So if that works for you, or if you're really on a tight budget, MailChimp is a great option. Constant Contact's what we've used for many years, but it absolutely gets more expensive the bigger your list is. So it's based on the number of subscribers, and it gets pretty expensive with the years as your list grows. So with your tool, you want to create lead magnets. A lead magnet is some sort of incentive that you're giving to people to sign up for your email list. Simply saying, please sign up to get news about my book, is probably not going to inspire a lot of signups unless you have a really loyal following already. So you really want to give people reasons to sign up for your email list. So lead magnets, a common one with authors, could be the first couple chapters of your book. The idea there is that you get them hooked and then they want to go buy the book, and it's a great way to get people into your book. You might create reports or downloads. We do a lot of content creation, reports and things like that, that we know the audience is interested in. So that's a good way to go. Worksheets. Maybe you've created like a mini workbook that goes with your book, or you even just 3 to 10 fillable worksheets. People love that kind of stuff. Same thing with a template that they can repurpose. Again, if you're doing any kind of nutrition or health or cooking, recipes can be popular. If you're fun, maybe you're a humor writer, right? And maybe you've got silly coloring sheets or something, a joke book you could download. I've seen authors whose books are set in a certain city. Like maybe your book is set in Napa, California, which is wine country. It's a beautiful place. It's a popular tourist destination. Maybe one of your lead magnets is 20 places to visit in Napa because your book is set, it's about living life in the wine country or something like that. So just get creative and think about how you're going to serve your audience. What content are they going to be interested in? Very important. Also, especially if you haven't published yet, or you're working on your next book, or even if you want to revise your current book, I always recommend putting a link in your book that invites the reader to download bonus content. Why do we do this? When you sell books, especially through retailers, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, wherever they're being sold, you don't get any customer data. You have no idea who purchased the book. You may never, ever know who they are. You won't ever know who they are. But if you put bonus content in your book and you invite readers to go download it, then you're capturing their email addresses. And it's a win-win because you're providing them something of value, and then you're collecting their email address so that you can keep in touch. So I definitely recommend sprinkling this link in your book maybe 2 or 3 times. You don't want it to be obnoxious. You don't want to leave people hanging or leave something out of your book that they can only get by signing up. You want it to enhance the material in the book. So it might be a section of the book you offer in a printable PDF format that they can print out and write on. Or maybe you have a big recommended resources section that people would like to download. So you make that a download. And it might be multiple things, because sometimes one download may not appeal, but another one does. So I like to have multiple options. So think about what is the companion content. It could be video. It could be you giving a 10-minute tutorial, or a short video course that's 60 minutes, or access to a previously recorded webinar like the one we're having right now. Quizzes and surveys are great. If you can find a way to tie this in with your content, this is a really cool option. This is Sally Hogshead. She's a well-known professional speaker who created her own registered system. And it's really like a personality type quiz. And I attended an event several years back where she gave everyone in the audience the quiz, and then you got your results. It was a personality quiz. Well, so interesting that I remember it all these years later. It was like 10 years ago. And she now, not only does she have kind of a light version that she gives to audiences, but she sells it as a product to corporations to implement for their teams and things like that. But quizzes and surveys can be great lead magnets to get people interested. So how many times have you clicked on a personality profile or an Enneagram quiz or something like that? What kind of parent are you? Strict? Are you lenient? There's quizzes for those things. So here's another real world example. These drive these points home better than anything. This is Dr. Sandra Dalton Smith. She wrote a book called Sacred Rest. And it's about I believe it's 7 types of rest we need, which is physical rest, emotional rest, creative rest, really cool concepts, right? So she put herself on a publicity tour where she did tons of podcast interviews and radio and television. She did a phenomenal job. Well, if you've ever done publicity, you probably know it can be really hard to sell books through publicity. And so what she did was, instead of making it all about check out my book and people forget, she said, hey, guess what? Find out what kind of rest you need by taking my free quiz at restquiz.com. And doing this with podcast interviews, people remembered this. And she's had hundreds of thousands of people take this quiz. How genius is that? She, by the way, is speaking at the Nonfiction Writers Conference coming up next month in May. So I also recommend not just one lead magnet, but multiple lead magnets, because as I said, maybe one of your downloads doesn't appeal, but another one will. This is something we've done for years, where we have multiple reports available for free download. It's under a freebies link on our site. And this drives dozens of new subscribers every week, just from a freebies page with different options. You don't have to go create 10 different lead magnets tomorrow, but keep that in mind. Get your first maybe 2 chapters up, and then start creating additional lead magnets that speak to the needs of your audience. And then also, if you do any kind of speaking, and a lot of us nonfiction authors do, this is a great place to build your email list. If you're speaking at any event, the way that I like to do it is usually about halfway through, I will pause and say, I'm going to do a giveaway at the end of this event. I'm going to pass around. I carry a 8x5 gift bag, folds that nicely in my briefcase, and I unfold that and I pass it around the room to collect business cards or people's written email address. And I say, I'm going to do a drawing at the end. Depending on the size of the audience, if it's a small group, I'll just do 1 book. If it's a larger group, I'll do 3, 5, even 10 books, because you want people to get excited and feel like they have an opportunity. And I'm all about get that book in as many hands as possible. So it's a fun way to do it halfway through when the audience is captivated, you know, they're learning something and they're going to want your book. And then those who don't get the book for free are going to want to buy a copy at the end. So speaking engagements are a fabulous way to build your email list. And that also applies to webinars. So what we're doing right now, webinars are one of my favorite ways to build our email list. We will add several hundred people from this event today. Many of you are new to us. So because we promoted this event, then we get new subscribers that want access to this information. And hopefully you find it valuable and you stay with us. That's the goal, right? So you also, when you're building your email list, you want to promote it to get your initial list going, right? So you want to let your social media followers know, offer them the free download, give them a link to sign up for your lead magnet. Maybe you reach out by email to people personally that you know and say, hey, I'm starting this new email list. I'd love for you to subscribe. Here's the link. You can get a free report when you do, or you get my chapters when you do, and let them know that when you create various lead magnets, let them know that these are your choices, right? So you can download any of the following. And you want to reach out in various places where you're actively engaged, right? Because building an email list from scratch is hard. But if you're actively involved in any online groups, for example, maybe you run a Facebook group for people who with aging pets, right? So certainly you want to ask those people for their email address to sign up for your list. And by the way, I'm seeing something really cool on groups. If you start a Facebook group, which I think is a great marketing tool for a lot of authors, you can ask questions before people are approved to join. And I'm seeing a lot of people starting these groups and saying, would you like our free report on? If so, enter your email address. And then you can collect those email addresses from the people joining your group. Very cool way to do that. So just think about where you can create some outreach for your target audience through the people and the communities that you're involved in. Mistakes to avoid with email. I mean, unsolicited email. Who doesn't just loathe that? I see this a lot with LinkedIn. People are scraping our email addresses and then sending a message as if we're connected, but we're not. I didn't sign up for that email. So please don't do that. It's one way to get your emails marked as spam, and people just don't like it. Right? We also want to maintain focus. You don't want your newsletter to be confusing. So if your topic is about accounting and finance, you don't want to write long articles about your summer vacation, right? You might put a paragraph in there in your personal greeting, but you don't want to confuse your audience. It's all about how we serve them. So that's the biggest one too. If you're losing subscribers, if your open rates are low, that is because something is not connecting with your audience. And then the constant sales pitches. This is a strategy with a lot of internet marketers. I hate it. I have, been very vocal about this. I signed up. I had read a technology book by an author and I thought it was a great book. So I went to his website, I got his free download, and then the emails were incessant every day. And every day it was selling me something. There wasn't any value. It was all about buy this, buy that, come to my class, come to my event. It was really overwhelming and disappointing. So we don't want to do that. And then daily emails, beware. Very few people want them. Daily alms started 20 years ago before we were all so inundated with email. They're a rare exception, and there's exceptions to everything. But really, daily is a lot of work too. So put it in a schedule that is manageable for you as well. And then this is a really important note. You want to enjoy this process. If it feels like drudgery to put together your email content, that is going to come through. So you want to make sure that you're creating something that you find enjoyable to do so that your audience feels that it's enjoyable as well. It will come across if there's no passion behind it. That's super important. So You can keep these simple. Emails do not need to be long and complicated. They can be short and sweet, like several of the examples I've shared with you. In fact, these are some of the most successful email marketers out there, and they're not complicated. They're short and sweet and simple. All right. Speaking of short and sweet and simple, I don't know about simple, but we powered through quite a bit of content in a short amount of time. So I'm going to take your questions. I see we have a bunch in Q&A. This is my favorite thing to do. We're going to do that, but please, can you give me 2 minutes? I would like to quickly share with you that our conference is coming up. This is our 14th year running the Nonfiction Writers Conference. This year it's May 8th through 10th. Our event has been online since 2010. We've had multi-day live events online since 2010, before people were doing multi-day live events. So I work really hard to make sure that these events keep your attention. And every year I look for the feedback from the attendees that say, I didn't think I'd like being on Zoom all day, but this was fantastic. So that's probably the number one resistance is, oh my gosh, I'm already on Zoom too much. But my commitment is that we bring in content that keeps you captivated. And we have 100% satisfaction guarantee every year. So if you don't like it after the first day, we will issue you a full refund. I think we've done that one time in 14 years. So I'm very proud that we deliver a lot of content. But we also have a live Pitch the Agents session. This is really popular. There are one-on-one consultations available, phone and Zoom-based consultations with publishing industry professionals. We have an online networking session. And then look at the agenda. It is jam-packed. So Jane Friedman is our opening keynote. She's talking about writing for love and money. Some sessions that I think are going to be really exciting this year. Writing for diversity, equity, inclusion we all need to know about these things. It's so essential. So that's going to be a powerful session. If you've ever wanted to give a TEDx talk, Kirsten Holmberg is an expert. She's going to teach you how to plan and pitch a TEDx talk. We've got content on how to write your book, how to publish your book, how to create revenue streams around your book. So many great pieces of information, valuable information will be shared. It's all live. There's live Q&A with the speakers. So again, we really try to keep your attention. And then there's replays available. Maybe you can't make all the live sessions. That's of course totally fine. Lots of people are getting the replay today, hundreds of people, by the way. And then there's bonuses. There's the Live Agent Pitch Fest is really popular. And then you also have the option, if you're not yet a member of the Nonfiction Authors Association, our members save 33% off the conference. And then our VIP and Thought Leader members attend for free. So you might consider adding membership. You get an immediate member pricing, but we have a massive educational database. Every Friday, we send out media leads for podcasts and blogs looking for content and guests. We do twice monthly meetings with our community. We had one yesterday, late in the day. I facilitate that. I answer questions. I love it. It's a lot of fun. We have a private member group and we have tons of discounts. So conference discounts. We have a nonfiction book awards program. We have educational courses. We have industry certification programs. So all of this can be added to your conference registration. Registration starts at $197. You can save 25% off with this code only for the webinar attendees. The code is 25 webinar and it's good through this Sunday only. So I will send this out in the email with the replay today, but I wanted to make sure and mention it. We would love to have you at the conference. I really do take it seriously that we're going to make this a valuable and memorable experience for you. And we're really aiming at taking the traditional writers conference and delivering it all online. You don't have to travel. You can attend from anywhere around the globe. And we've done it for 14 years. So we must be doing something right. All right. Now I would love to take your questions. Again, the code is 25 webinar. The link is nonfictionwritersconference.com. So thank you for indulging me with that. I'm going to stop the share and I'm going to hit our Q&A. So if you have a question, pop it in the Q&A. You can upvote the questions. I'm going to do my best to get to as many as I can. So please go ahead and put your questions in here. Natasha, remind us the title of your recent marketing book. I did not plant Natasha in the audience. My book is the Nonfiction Book Marketing and Launch Plan. It is right behind me in the blue here. And it is a large 8.5 by 11 workbook style book, but it's a really meaty, like 70,000 word workbook. So thanks for asking, Natasha. It's the Nonfiction Book Marketing and Launch Plan. It just came out in January. How does Substack sign up compared to email? Oh, Natasha, great questions. We're getting this a lot. Here's my feeling. Substack is relatively new. It's fairly popular right now. And by the way, these trends come and go. Okay, so we see them come and go. But the thing about Substack is people can subscribe to it. You can send content out for free or you can charge for it. It is rented real estate. So it's very similar to social media. You're leveraging somebody else's real estate that you don't own. So for that reason, primarily, I'm not a big fan of that as your core way of connecting with your audience. I would much rather you own the real estate, you drive people back to your website. Substack does have some discoverability benefits. Maybe you do something once a week there, but that it also drives people back to your site. But beware, because the people doing the best on Substack, from what I've seen, are people who are already famous, right? Like Susan Cain and Cheryl Strayed and folks like that. Alice, you asked about my email platform. I that you probably asked before the slide came up. So most common right now that I'm seeing are MailChimp, Constant Contact, and SurveyMonkey. Another question about Substack. So again, because it's a third party, I would so much rather see you build it on your own site. Grace, I'm new here. I have 85,000 historical nonfiction. I'm thinking that's words about mental illness. I had a secret, struggling to get the interest of an agent. I don't have a website. So Grace, that's totally outside the scope of this conversation today. And I need to address the direct questions. We have lots of free content at nonfictionauthorsassociation.com, and you should really come to the conference. That would be perfect for you at nonfictionwritersconference.com. How do you generate your email list? Oh yeah, I did cover that. So a lot of times questions come up and then we answer them after a slide or two later. What kind of physical address? Okay, Dawn, great question. So the CAN-SPAM Compliance Act requires a postal address in your footer or somewhere in that email. And yes, a PO box works great. That's what most people do. Please do not put your home mailing address on there. Never, ever do that. Ideally, you want to go rent a box at the UPS store or the post office. If you have a friend who owns a business and they can accept mail for you, maybe do that. But yeah, please don't ever share your home address. Do most writers use a PO box? Yes, they do. Can I collect emails from events via sign up form? Yes. So as long as people have given you permission, whether they fill out a form or drop a business card, as long as they're giving you permission, yes, you can do that for sure. How do you recommend distributing distributing lead magnets in an automated fashion? So Christy, this is where your email tool comes in. So Constant Contact, MailChimp, you can set up an automatic reply when people sign up that gives them a link to download your lead magnet. It might be a link that you've saved into a Dropbox or something like that. I will add, I didn't cover this in here because this is kind of more advanced. We use a tool called Lead Pages. Leadpages.com allows you to create landing pages. And it's a really slick tool where you can create those sign up pages. If you look at our freebies page, all of those link to lead pages, and it makes it really easy to set up individual pages that automatically add them to our constant contact list once they've subscribed. So I hope that makes sense. Maureen, for my first newsletter, am I in compliance if I send an introductory mass email to my email list that includes a copy of my newsletter? No, technically, Maureen, we're not supposed to do that. So people do it, but it doesn't mean it's really goes against that. You could technically send those emails out one at a time. One spam, Mary says you can send one spam to begin. Well, if that's the truth, then that's new to me. But if you can send one, I don't like that as a practice in general, unless it's very personalized. Paul, compliments. Oh, thank you. That's so nice. Thank you, Paul. I try to include the real world examples because they really drive these points home, right? I can tell you all day how to do stuff, but if you see it in action, I think it really helps. How do you recommend getting a speaking event? Sharon, again, another topic that's outside of this conversation today. We do have a free report on that, though. At Nonfiction Authors Association.com under freebies, we have a how to break into professional speaking 100% free downloadable report. Brooke, if you collect business cards and emails at a speaking engagement, you have to tell them. Yes, you do need to tell them that they're getting added to an email list. That's what it means to opt in. Maureen, my author site is on Squarespace, which includes email marketing campaign feature. What are some pros and cons of using a website? So if it's built into your website, it's probably fine as long as you have access to the database of contacts. There's nothing proprietary that they get to keep that or anything like that. So I would just be careful and check that. I don't know what their terms would be, what any of the website host terms would be, but I would assume you'd be able to export your contacts. And maybe that's a good starting point. And as your list grows, you might export your contacts and move to something a little more sophisticated, like a constant contact, for example. Sharon, yes, I'm going to share a copy of the slides with the recording. That'll go out in an email this afternoon. Tammy, Amazon reviewer is totally outside of this topic today. Sorry, guys. I want to stick with email marketing because that's our focus today. Do you have a mention about the email list on the free downloads so that they are opting in? Yeah, you'll see the landing page, Brooke. Yes. And it says, we have a note in there about we'll never send spam. We don't sell your contact information, things like that. Michelle, what's a good open rate? Ooh, great questions. And I didn't get into open rates, again, kind of advanced stuff, but an open rate means how many people clicked to read the email that you sent. Now, your tools, your MailChimp, your Constant Contact tracks this information for every email. It tells you what links were clicked, who clicked those links. It gives you a lot of information. But the open rate is the percentage of people that actually open the email. And I think across all industries, it's like under 10%. But that's including retail and everyone else. And I think every industry is different. My personal aim is the 35% space, and that's considered a really good open rate. So if you can do 25 to 30%, I would say you're doing really well. Anything below that, and you want to evaluate the content and figure out why you're not getting, because those open rates are an indicator, right? Nobody's going to get 100% opens. I've heard people say they get 50%, but it's typically a very small list. Once you start getting thousands of subscribers, 25 to 35% is really good. Standard good in print is 2 to 3%. Yeah, but that's very different. By offering a free book, do you let them know you'll be adding them to your email list? Yep, you always have to disclose that. Are there places to buy email lists? So you can rent email lists. I hate them. I don't know how they get around the whole CAN Spam Compliance Act stuff. I personally prefer kind of the old school postcard campaigns. So here's a way you could do that. Postcards are really inexpensive marketing, and not enough people are taking advantage of them today. So you could buy an email list. So let's say you want to sell your book to college professors who teach world history. Okay, you can go buy a physical mailing list of college professors who teach world history and create a postcard, and send it to them that says, download my book for free, or request a review copy of the book, or download my worksheets for world history game that you can play with your students. I'm just talking off the top of my head here, but the point is give people a reason to opt in is my personal preference. Now, again, I'm anti all the kind of snake oil internet marketing tactics. So I will never rent or purchase an email list personally. I just don't, because here's the other thing that happens. You send that out and those subscribers mark it as spam, and that hurts your deliverability forever. So if people are marking your emails as spam, that's getting logged by Google, by all the email servers. So future emails are going to be harder to get delivered. So many reasons not to do that. Somewhat quirky visuals. Thank you, Paul. So I read a great book called Humor Seriously, and I'm blanking on the names of the authors, excuse me, but it was about how to incorporate humor into business. And I loved it. It felt like a license to, put dog and cat photos in there and try to just lighten things up a little bit. So thank you for that. I credit that book, Humor Seriously. Yes, the conference agenda is on the website. Thank you, Christy, for sharing that link. How appropriate is Nonfiction Authors Association for memoir writers? Sharon, we have lots of memoir writers. In fact, I would bet around 25% or 30% of our members are memoir writers. It's a large percentage. And really, marketing your memoir is not that different from marketing a prescriptive nonfiction book or a narrative history book. Right? It's all about the target audience and carving that out. We have lots of memoir writers. You would be in good company. Code again, 25 webinar. Thank you, Mary, for posting that. The discount code is 25 webinar. The number 25 and the word webinar. Ron, yes, we're going to share the slides and the recording that will go out. And first time attendee, thanks for being here, Ron. I'm wondering how you heard about us. I'm going to bet it was on Facebook, but I'd love to know. Thoughts about Medium, Michelle. So Medium as a platform, similar to Substack, it is someone else's real estate. It can be helpful for discoverability, although I think Medium is losing some of the luster it had 2 years ago. I don't know that the readership is as high as it once was. So if you want to do something like that, try to repurpose the content from your own site. So for example, you're writing for your blog, take your blog posts, rewrite the title, rewrite the first couple of chapters, first couple of paragraphs, and put that as your article on Medium. So make it a little bit different. There's reasons for Google to do it that way, but don't make Medium your primary platform, is the point I really want to make. We want to bring our foundational content to our own websites. Alice, Goodreads isn't really part of this conversation, but we cover a lot of this content through the Nonfiction Authors Association and the Writers Conference. My book is Practice from the Heart in the Age of Technology, is non-technical nonfiction book on the practice of medicine. It is full of anecdotes and narratives of wonderful experiences. I have more than 3,000 email recipients. Good for you. I have good reviews, but not many people know it. How do I get more people to go to my website? That gets back to that foundational content. You should be blogging or podcasting or creating video or a combination of the three. Yeah, Paul doesn't trust Substack. Hi, Greta. I've been sending weekly email reminder about my Sunday services since 2020. In light of this presentation, I feel I should stop doing that. How do I transition and encourage people on my constant contact list to sign up instead for a monthly newsletter? Well, you want to give them some value, Greta. What's the value of that? So a weekly reminder to come to an event is one piece of value, but maybe you're giving some sort of spiritual quote or thought of the day or something like that. So it gets back to who's your target audience and what do they want to learn from you. And I know you have great content given what you do. I'm asking this to help new authors who have never done any of this before. Can you share a little about the amount of time it takes to put these pieces you shared about today? I mean, it shouldn't take you a ton of time to put together your emails. If it's taking you all day, you're doing it wrong. This is why I like the concept of write a blog post, make that the foundation of your email, and share the first paragraph or first 2 or 3 paragraphs, and then a link to read it on your blog. It could literally be as simple as that, plus a little 1 or 2 paragraph greeting from you, plus an ad for your book. So it can be simple. And in fact, I will say, I think simple is easier for both the author and the recipient. Okay, you guys, we're running out of questions. Oh, you found it on LinkedIn. Great. There's 2 more. Where do you buy a list of addresses for postcards? Info USA is and I think they recently changed their name, but if you type in Info USA, that is a mailing list service that sells mailing lists of all kinds. and it's legitimate. So thank you. Thank you, Lynn. So sweet. All right. I didn't get to see the chat. I'm going to go back and read that later today. It looks like I got to all the questions that were email marketing related. So thank you. If you haven't been with us before, please consider joining us, Nonfiction Writers Conference.com. The code is 25 webinar, and also at Nonfiction Authors Association.com. It is my pleasure to do these events, and I appreciate I'm seeing your comments coming in. So I appreciate that very much. Recording will be out later today along with the slides. Thank you all very, very much. Enjoy the rest of your day. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you for attending this webinar by the Nonfiction Authors Association. Since 2010, we have helped thousands of writers learn to write, publish, and promote books that make a difference in the world. If you need support navigating the complexities of the publishing industry and want to reach your author goals faster, you can learn about membership benefits, courses, and additional resources by visiting nonfictionauthorsassociation.com.